So after I made a mini album using the Graphic 45 Life is Abundant 8x8 collection, and here's the mini album. I do have a video doing a walkthrough and also a tutorial on this, so you can check that out. But I had scraps left over and I made this tiny mini album. And when I say tiny, it is pretty small. It's about 3 inches tall and about 2 inches wide, a little bit less. So let's get started and I'll show you how to make it. Hey everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums, and I'm going to show you how to make this little mini album. So the chipboard pieces are 2 3/4 by 1 7/8. You'll need 2 of those, and then one that's 3/4 by 2 3/4. I just actually used some leftover scraps. I put some double-sided adhesive on the back, and I put it on this scrap of pattern paper. It's probably about 6 inches by about 4. Once I put it on, I will add glue to the side. I already have a little bit of double-sided adhesive around the perimeter of it. And of course, I cut right across, cut off the corners. Here I'm just adding some glue and folding it over and making sure it is adhered nicely. I'll turn it over and use my bone folder to go through those grooves and then do it on the other side. And there's the cover. Okay, now I'm going to put this scrap of paper on the inside. Probably should have waited till I put the hinge on, but that's okay. The paper is just a smidgen under 2 3/4 by 1 7/8. Now I have this piece that I'm going to use for a hinge. It's about 2.5 by 8, and we'll score it at, and don't watch what I do because I forgot one piece. You'll score it at 1.5 to 2.5, 2 5/8, 3 1/8, 3 5/8, 3 3/4, 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 4 7/8, 5 3/8, 5 7/8, and 6. I mean, it's just as much work as if you're making a full-size mini. So now I'm going to fold in between each of those 1/2 inch pieces, and then I will take it by hand and squeeze and get my hinges to pop up. I'll add glue to the bottom and squeeze and pinch and burnish real well with my bone folder. I do have other longer tutorials on how to make a book. I mean, this is just a tiny little one. So now I'm adding glue to the center and putting it as best I can onto my little mini album. I'll take my bone folder and go inside the pieces just to make sure everything is as even as possible. And then I'll add glue to this extra little wing. And there we go. There is our hinges and our little book. So I have 4 pieces of cardstock. These measure 1 3/4 by 2.5. Score it at 1 3/4. I also have 2 pieces which will be flaps. They are 2.5 by 2 1/4. Score it at 1 3/4. It's those green and yellow pieces. And I'll just miter the corners of the green and yellow flaps and add them to the pages after I have the pages in. So I'll fold and burnish on the score lines. And then I'll go ahead and grab the book. And starting at the back of the book, I'm going to just eyeball it, but add glue to the hinge. I'm adding it to both sides of the hinge, but then I find out it doesn't always work that way. So anyhow, I'll put the paper on and fold it and burnish it, and there is one of the pages. So this one works better. I got smart and add glue just to the back of the hinge. Take one of the papers and open it up, and then add glue to the front of the hinge and the bottom, don't forget the bottom, and then burnish it real well. So do that with the other 2 pages, and we'll get our 4 pages in the book. I think I had 8 total of the little sayings. I don't know if I put them all in. I may have left 1 or 2 out. And then I'll take the yellow flap and put it on. I think I did page 2 and 4, or the back of, yeah, page 2 and 4. And just put it on the page. I do put them on upside down, but it's not a big deal because we're going to end up covering it. Okay, now I have this little green piece. It's just about 3 by 3, and I have a piece of chipboard that's 2 by 1.5, and I just wrap it. Incidentally, the paper I'm using is from the Little Things collection. I had some solids, and a lot of Graphic 45 papers match. So I use this piece to make this for the cover, but I'm using all of the Little Things paper to make this mini album, and it matches well with the Life is Abundant collection. So I'm just wrapping it like I would a cover. And this is going to go on the front of the book. I realized it needs something first to separate it from the blue. So I cut a little scrap piece and put it on the front. I have this little piece left over, that little teeny border. Oh, here, I'm going to fussy cut these mushrooms out. And before I do that, I'm taking an alcohol marker and just going around the perimeter or the outside of all the pieces I'm going to fussy cut. Sort of separates it from the background, and it just makes it a little neater when you're fussy cutting. Just a trick I've learned along the way. If you have something that's got a lot of background pieces, try it, see how it works. So I'm cutting this mushroom piece. There's 4 mushrooms, like 2 together, and I'm going to put those on the front cover. These mushrooms are gorgeous. The artistry in this collection is just fabulous. It came out last year. It's almost 2025, so it came out for calendars for 2024. It was wonderful. All right, I want to take some more paper to yet separate it. So I just sort of eyeball this, and I take some thin cardstock. I like to use cardstock when I'm layering rather than foam adhesive. More environmentally friendly. And I always have, I said cardstock, chipboard. I always have scraps of chipboard around. So I'll put that on the front. So, Graphic 45 has these titles that are on circles, and I am taking a hole punch. I don't get a regular size one. This is my We Are Memory Keepers one, and punching out where it says life. I have to poke it out of my little We Are Memory Keepers thing. Add 4 dots of glue, and then I take the LIFE letters and add them onto the dots of glue on the front here. Have to sort of manipulate it so it's in the right orientation. But I like to have titles on books. So even though it says life, I thought that was appropriate for all these cute little sayings. So I'll add my mushrooms. And I have this sunflower I cut out of the cover, and I really, really, really want to use it, but I just don't find anywhere to use it. So I'll put the mushrooms sort of justified over to the left side of the cover. Still trying to use that sunflower. All right, now I will go ahead and take some of the sayings and start gluing them onto the pages. No real rhyme or reason, just wherever I felt like it. So I'll add one to the inside of this page with the flap, and since that page was put on upside down, I do have to cover it. So I just cut a piece and cover that page. Couldn't tell you the measurements. I like the last page being all good things come from gratitude. I thought that was a great saying to end the book. I call it book. I mean, it's tiny. It's little. You could make it to go in a mini album, really, or just hang on your desk, which is what I'm going to do. So here's a walkthrough of it. I did fill in some of the pages with different things. It is a top-loading pocket, so we added a couple other things for it. This one I made a belly band and put some of those stamps and just decorated it. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fabulous day.